Hi, and welcome to this course on finance essentials for Airbnb hosts. You're already running a successful Airbnb business or you're running a guest rental maybe. So the guests are booking, the reviews are great, but let me ask you this. If you had to tell the financial story of your hosting business in one sentence, what would it be? So, most people I've heard they will fumble, they will find something like something to say, and it would sound like this, that look, it makes I make good money most months, or some people say, look, it pays for itself. I'm doing it more as a hobby, and yet others will tell you that look, it helps to pay the mortgage. Now, all of these are just very superficial answers because in this course, we're going to go much deeper than that. And because every Airbnb business, no matter how small, has a financial narrative. And when you clearly you can understand your narrative and you're able to spell that out, you're able to explain that, then you'll be able to make sharper and smarter decisions. And I'm talking of business decisions. Because you see, hosting, while it may feel casual, and many people may be doing it as a hobby, and that's fine because it's the hobby that is fueling your passion. And anything that is done with passion is well done compared to something that feels like a job. So that apart, but hosting nonetheless is a business because you see the what are the main defining characteristics of a business. Let's understand that. First off, a business has a revenue. It generates certain proceeds from sale, and the sale is certain value that you are giving to somebody who is giving you money in return, and that's basically the revenue that comes in. So the first defining characteristic of a business is that it generates revenue. The second is that a business carries costs because to deliver that experience or to deliver that value proposition or whatever you think whatever you're offering that you're giving uh, to the customer or to your guest, there is a certain cost to create that experience. And that is the second defining characteristic of any business, that a business has costs. The third is that is the idea of capital investment. Now, even if, for example, if it's your own home and you say, look, I'm just renting out a spare room, it is still a cost. It's called opportunity cost. And there's your time, then there's your effort, then there's the wear and tear. So there is a certain amount of capital investment which is tied up in which enables you to provide that service, that value to. So we'll understand that concept, but this is a clearly one of the defining characteristics of a business, that a business needs capital investment even if you put it yourself in your own home, but it still had to be put it had to be put there. The fourth characteristic is risk. All businesses carry risk, and so does Airbnb. This is something that you know better, that um, there are good months, there are bad months, there's COVID, there's you talk to the folks in the ski resorts and they'll tell you the snow comes, the snow doesn't come. So all there is risk all the time in the business, and there's the risk of um, things happening in the city. There's the risk of tourism, the tourists not coming in. There's the risk of other business accidents happening, and most importantly, profitability. The fifth defining characteristic of a business is that it makes a profit, and the whole idea of profitability, which is what we are where we are going deeper into this course. So Bottom line, your Airbnb business is a business. It's your hobby, it's your passion, it's your side gig, whatever else it may be. But it is a business no less than any other micro business, or even the corner shop down the road, or the petrol station, petrol pump across the road, or the florist. They're all micro. They're all businesses, or small or medium businesses, and so are you. And in a business, we need to understand how the money comes in, how the money moves, and how it disappears, and how money adds up. So all of this we're dealing with is money. So a financial story is not just accounting. It's the narrative behind your numbers, because every host's story should answer how much revenue is coming in, what does it cost to deliver that experience. Think about it. What are all the things that go into, and how much does it cost? How much does one weekend cost you to deliver? You know what you get, what comes in, what you get paid, but how much does it cost for you to deliver that experience? That's something that we needs a little more serious thought, and then it raises more questions than can be answered. And I think most importantly, as a host, you would know that how much of what comes in is truly yours to keep. And fourthly is your business, we're dealing with risk here. So is your business resilient across seasons, across all kinds of other surprises that may come your way? And I'm sure you've dealt with surprises, and all hosts have. So this is what defines our financial narrative. You see, I met there's this host. Her name is Jenna, and she makes about $4,000 from her listing. And then from there you subtract the mortgage, the cleaning, the supplies, and not to forget the Airbnb fees, the portal fees and taxes. So what she really got to keep is $1,700 out of the 4,000 that she was getting. And that's what I discussed with her, is that 4,000 is your gross income, but that is, out of that, only 1,700 is yours to keep. But I mean, see, 1,700 is still solid, but it is not what it first appears. It's not 4,000. 1,700 is not the same thing. So why do so many hosts? I find that I'll make a statement that a lot of hosts are struggling to see the big picture, to see actually the full picture. Because Airbnb's dashboard shows you the gross payout, but that is not your real profit. And we know that, right? Most hosts are tracking, I found, they're tracking income casually. They're keeping diary, or they're noting it down on Excel, or just looking through their bank statement, number of credit card transactions. But they didn't seem to have a very systematic way of tracking their income. And then on top of that, there was, I found in my casual discussions, and I traveled a lot, I stayed with a lot of hosts, and I tried to have as much of a conversation as we could over the course of my stays. And I also realized that a lot of the hosts were underpricing in the peak season. A lot of the hosts were spending too much money on upgrading their properties, and that some of them were actually not planning for repairs and downturns. It's one thing to pretty up your property and the or the room or whatever. And it's another thing to be prepared for repairs because things will break down. The refrigerator it will break down. And then there's obsolescence. Things will need replacement, or there may be downturns. Are we planning for? There could be economic downturns. There could be other surprises that the business has. So all of this course is basically we are looking at finance essentials, and I'm not teaching you to become a financial expert, but we are just going to learn enough finance to better run an Airbnb business and make that little extra incremental money. So if Jenna was making 4,000 gross and 1,700 was hers to keep, with a little bit of tweaks, she could be earning 1,900. Now, you'll say that's $200 extra, but but it's not bad money, because think of what you can do with you could get more. You could get a piece of furniture. You could spend more money on marketing. You could maybe, I don't know, upgrade. Maybe bring in an upgrade. Maybe you can get a professional photographer to come in and really improve your presentation of your property. And then that's only one tweak, because then after a few more months, you could go from 19 to 2,200, and so that's good incremental, and that is what this course is hoping to. That kind of clarity comes from understanding the financial drivers of the business. So think of this course as just turning the lights on. It's not there to overwhelm you with finance concepts, and this is not an MBA course, or it is just when I say turning on the lights, that you'll see things more clearly. The things were there; they're always there. In the room, you've got your furniture, you've got your other stuff in the room, and it's there. But it's only when you switch on the lights you see it more clearly, and so it gives you more control. That's what the course will do. And if in a few months' time you can make that little extra incremental income, and then what happens is that as time goes by and you start, because now you're more proficient in finance, you start making those tweaks, and maybe one gets you extra $50 and the other one gets you an extra $150, and then it all adds up. But what happens is that when you start making those tweaks, you get better and better at it, and then you start practicing it. It's like learning to ride a bike, right? So, and then when you start practicing it, then a lot of it starts coming naturally to you. You move out in to a new orbit in terms of capability. Stretch your mind. That's the platform. Anyway, so basically, you don't need to be an accountant. I'm not training you to be an accountant. You don't need to keep. This is not about bookkeeping and keeping the numbers. It's not that. This is not the course. But you do need to see your business like an owner sees a business. Now, I don't know if this is your full-time, if this is you're self-employed. I don't know if this is a side gig, and I don't know that. Like, I've seen many property owners, and they don't manage their properties. There's a management company that does that, and that's okay. But you are still the owner, and you still need to have the essentials of finance. You need, because you are the business drivers are for you. You need to have a handle on those. So over the course, we'll see that what numbers should we be tracking? The one, I mean, are we track right now? Of course, I'm sure you're tracking numbers. You're tracking how many days my room is vacant and how many days, and all kinds of things. But I think what we'll see is what are the right numbers. What are the 4 or 5 really, really important things? And excuse me, and also the ability to ask better financial questions. So if you can just frame the questions, we have all the tools at our disposal. I'll give you all the tools, and I'll give you lots of tips where to find the answers. But to be able to frame the right questions, because your business and only you know the questions, what questions you should be asking. It's why do big corporations have chief financial officers? Because it's the finance function which is looking after revenue, costs, risks, capital expenditure, and profitability. All the key main characteristics that is common to all businesses, starting from yours, which is the small micro business, right up to the world's biggest companies like Amazon and Tesla and Walmart did this. Okay, so they have fancy titles, they have chief financial officers, they have armies of experts because they need it. They need that expertise. Otherwise, they would not remain very competitive. But you don't have a CFO, and you don't need one. But I'm training you to become enough of a CFO for yourself that you have all the right skills that are needed to run your micro business. That's the whole idea. So that you can make smarter, you can make more confident decisions and all that. So let me leave you, end of this module. Let me leave you with one question about your hosting business, and that is, I want you to have a think of because I did say that as a business owner, you will be asking. One of the things this course gets you is that it helps you. It will make you ask the right financial questions. So let me at this stage ask you, what is the one financial question about your hosting business that you've never had a clear answer to? And I have heard examples, for instance, people say that, how much do I actually earn per night? That's So this is the thing is. Write down any one question that you're struggling with as a business owner, and the one financial question. And as we go along in this course, we will keep. I will keep asking you questions, which you keep documenting. Maybe some of them you'll be able to answer, but at the end of the course, what you're going to have is 25 questions. And you may already have the answers to that, because as we cover each module, you'll have a question at the end. Now, if I give you a question, you may be able to answer it immediately, or it may send you into a deeper thought process, and both are fine. Both are great. From as far as I'm concerned, if I can trigger that kind of a process, my purpose is served, and so is yours in this course. So this is it's great to have you, and I look forward to our future sessions, and welcome once again to the course on finance essentials for Airbnb hosts.